really was the building block for, the riches that accrued in the NBA, the players in this era. And that's what I hope the book becomes, is a message to the players of this era. Like, you always, and I hear it all the time, we're a family, especially media people around. Well, you guys don't understand, we're a family. And it is true. You have a special, unusual talent in our society to be a pro athlete. But if you're a part of a family, why don't you take care of your family? Because these guys, not a single one of them benefited from the free agents they were fighting for. And they knew it at the time. They knew none of them would benefit from what they were fighting for. But they put their careers at risk because there were no guaranteed contracts in that era. And succeeded, and over the years, it's evolved to this, tremendous economics. Obviously, would not have been done without the, entertainment dollars and TV and all the elements that the NBA under David Stern put together. But few people really realize not only what those players went through, but how in court and with the league, but also, the circumstances for, Elgin Baylor literally at one time, two times, sat out a regular season game because he was black and couldn't stay in the hotel with his teammates. And we think of pro athletes, no matter what era, that they're special. And these guys didn't have it so special, but yet, they endured. So it's, I think it's, really an interesting story of that era.
You already mentioned about Oscar Robertson and the suit against the NBA. Just briefly tell everybody what that suit was about and what were the consequences for Oscar.
Well, the suit essentially, we have antitrust laws in a country that's still getting for, when you break AT&T getting broken up, and monopoly, we're an anti-monopoly society. And so when the ABA came along and the NBA wanted to, they got into initially, bidding more. Rick Barry jumped leagues and a couple of guys changed, and so all of a sudden salaries are going way up because they're in competition, and the players, like John Havlicek told me the story where he was making $20,000. It was like mid or late 60s, and of course no guaranteed contract, no multi-year contract. He's an all-star. He's the best player on the team. He's the Celtics' leading scorer. Doesn't miss any games. Was winning multiple championships, and so he goes into Arback and asks for a raise to $21,000 from $20,000. To $25,000 from $20,000. Arback told him he's nuts. He might as well retire because he's never getting that kind of money. And he ended up getting $21,000. He got a $1,000 raise, and so those were the circumstances. So when the NBA, but then he finally had some leverage with the ABA came along, and he got increases in salary when he threatened to jump. Havlicek too threatened to go to the other league. Who now not a lot of people realize was a multi-sport athlete and was in the Cleveland Browns training camp. Playing, inter-squad games with Jim Brown. So a lot of interesting histories with a lot of these guys. But so what happened is the Players Association, which was the first one ever, started by Bob Cousy and then handed off to Heinsohn and Robertson, which was a pretty big thing in the mid-'60s, to have a black man run your organization, labor organization, sued the NBA. And said this is a violation of the antitrust laws. And the NBA, of course, said that's nonsense, that we have this reserve clause, just like baseball, which had this incredible Supreme Court ruling in the early 20th century that baseball is not interstate commerce, so the antitrust laws don't apply. And the Supreme Court has been, wrong a lot, crooked a lot. Dred Scott case among the more famous ones. So they sued, the league countered, then it went to Congress. The NBA tried to get an exemption, just as baseball and football had. And to the benefit of the players, they ran up against an actual American in Sam Urban, who later went on to greater fame as the head of the Watergate Committee in the Senate. But Sam Urban, in his committee hearings, when the players went to Congress, said, well, look, don't we have antitrust laws? You're trying to violate them. And so the NBA couldn't go that way. They went to court. They lost in federal court. And then in 1976, they finally made a settlement and granted